first thing I started with was Jed McKenna's Spiritual Enlightenment, the Damnedest Thing. And I started there doing a process called spiritual autolysis, where he talks about how to process your psychology. And what he says is to write the truth. Now, you can't do that. You can't write something true, absolutely speaking. And Jed goes in to characterize how to kind of view truth with a capital T versus kind of like a lowercase t. And I thought a really self-explanatory way, in a way I think that philosophy and philosophers tend to overthink. And Jed does an excellent job of kind of talking about the spiritual terrain, talking about why to go about this in a sense, and the journey that he took. He advocates for basically dedicating your life to spiritual enlightenment. In his definition of it as non-dual awareness, where your perception of reality is not separate from yourself, where you're not viewing your experience as a human being on planet Earth. You are the one with totality of existence, and this is how you live your life. And that fundamentally speaking, life is an illusion, and that nothing exists, absolutely speaking, other than God. And when I first came across this material, it changed my life. I dropped my ego, so to speak, which is kind of like a glimpse into the underlying nature of reality. And what I felt was that by learning more about the spiritual terrain, that I could both advance myself and mess myself up. If you have interest in this topic so far, I suggest turning it off and buying the audiobooks for Spiritual Enlightenment, the Damnedest Thing, Spiritually Incorrect Enlightenment, and the third one, which is Spiritual Warfare. The combined trilogy is maybe about 30 hours long. It's probably one of the best, if not the best, foundation for modern spirituality that we have in the West. I've not found anything better. I don't think it exists. In fact, it doesn't. It's the best. You don't need anything else. You don't need 2 biology books, right? You just need one. You need one to tell you how to do your, biology equation, essentially, or how the tree functions, biologically speaking. You don't need a ton of different books from a ton of different authors. You just need to get the understanding that you need in order to open the perception of your advancement and how to perceive your progress. To say that Jed was the first exposure that I had would be a mischaracterization. I was exposed to a variety of different relationship books and courses from the pickup artist industry. Predominantly Real Social Dynamics, R.S.T. Jeffy, R.S.T. Tyler, R.S.T. Todd, R.S.T. Luke, R.S.T. Ozzy, and several others. I feel that the work that these men did in the area of psychology laid foundational pillars in my psychology that I had worked out by going out to nightclubs and trying to understand the process of becoming more self-aware with myself and how my own speech impacts other people, so that I could be more available for romantic connection. There was a time about 8-9 years ago where the industry saw a pop in sales and also an increase in their profile on YouTube, which may have led to their own demise, unfortunately. Although I do feel that the industry needed to change. The fact that it is an industry is a little bit worrisome, because it means that you're going to be bottling something up in order to sell it. This audio is meant to give you a step-by-step process on how to become spiritual enlightened? No. It's to give you some of the things that I came across that are going to be so helpful for you. The only thing you're going to need is to tap on a teacher every now and then to help guide you. And you'll be able to do it on your own, which is what we need to get to ultimately. I can't structure a course on this in a way where I'm going to build a business model. It's going to take too long. It could be 7 to 10 years out, and that's way too fucking long. This needs to happen now for people. They need to find this material, they need to share it, and they need to become spiritually enlightened to the best of their ability and to the best in their their own desires. Your own desires is important, because people are going to come across this information and think it's not very important, and that would be a lack of education is what that would signify to me. I went through school in the sciences. I always had a taste for philosophy and introspection. So when I came across this material, it was immense for me. I always felt like I had a really hard time with girls. I got my heart broken so bad in high school, I realized I probably actually would have taken my own life had my family not been there for me. And that's something I forgot about, like just how painful it was. And it was painful because I ended up giving my heart away so deeply that it was taken so abruptly because of the psychology I was kind of dealing with. And that was one of immense rejection. And I went around and moved maybe about 6 or 7 times before I got into middle school. And I also was in about 5 or 6 different programs educationally. My parents fucked me up so bad, they ruined my education. And by the time I got into 6th grade, I'd have been exposed to the Waldorf school curriculum, the Southern Oregon curriculum at Willow Wind or Chautauqua. I was exposed to my mom's own homeschooling, school teaching in Montana, Eugene, and Walker here. So like 5 different types of programs. And you have no ability to orient yourself in that kind of a way. And what I noticed and what Kundalini has started to show me is that my psychology got so fractured, I actually ended up kind of not being available to women emotionally because I was worried I would just move. You see, there's no ability for me to connect with someone because of that. And so we don't really think about that as parents, right? But when you do that, you mess up your kids so bad, they're going to have attachment issues that are basically going to be grabbing onto people unconsciously, which is going to make them be pushed away. And then they're going to have a response, which is that people are going to talk shit about them, or people are going to view them in a way that makes them kind of appear a little toxic. And so I started out by being interested in, just like the universe. And I was so interested in the galaxies and nature and aliens and what was going on out there, just so curious and angry because I felt like our civilization would never get the answers I wanted, ever. Like I was in 6th grade, I remember sleeping out on the deck and I'd be listening to this song called Porcelain by Moby. And I'd listen to it just on repeat and I'd just look at the stars and just be in such awe and bewilderment and just wondering what was going on. Like what's going on out there? Like what exists? So mind-boggling. Like the fact that our galaxy would take 100,000 years for light to travel across it. And there are hundreds of billions and even billions of galaxies. There's a billion galaxies that exist. And this still puts it makes my hair stand up on end. And it's this kind of passion and curiosity that kept me leaning into my own ideas and my own philosophy and my own sense of morality as I got older. But what I didn't know was that was all affected by my own perception, which was impacted by the way I grew up. And how I grew up was I had a series of events that took place when I was very young that were deeply traumatizing to the degree I had no idea. I didn't know they happened. and it's only here later in life that I recall them. I know that spiritual teacher Teal Swan talks about ritualistic child abuse. She was abused, and I'm sure there are others. I don't want to go into detail about that, but what I noticed is that my psychology was deeply impacted by this, even though I don't remember it. So I'm going about my life, and the reason I'm thinking about certain things, or the reason why I'm oriented around certain things, or the reason why I'm doing certain things, actually has to do with trauma that existed pre-4 years old, or 5 or 6, that I don't even remember existed at all within me. Which is kind of what I'm trying to get at, is that things have happened to us that we've forgotten completely, and we have no idea about at all. And what I'm trying to say to you is that to dedicate yourself to this is the most important thing you can possibly ever do with your life, and it's more important than anything else, period. And should you actually avoid this and avoid this conversation once you find it, you will end up leading a lesser life. Because I remember releasing one emotion from my body that was so bad, I couldn't believe that I had been living with it for so long. And I basically viewed the previous self as essentially walking through life drunk. It was kind of like having like 3 shots of vodka and a nice pour, and then going about my life. And basically, that's kind of what we're doing when we have a Western upbringing with good families. The good family dynamic that we have and the Western upbringing, and even in other countries, clearly, is so bad and so toxic, it's leading to the end of the world and the end of our species. So when you tell me you don't have any anger, or you don't need to do your inner healing work, or you're not really interested in spirituality in a way where you actually change, you just want to wake up, go to sleep, contribute nothing to the planet other than actually trying to make money for yourself and not helping anybody, and trying to status climb, or trying to be a jerk, or trying to do whatever you're doing, you're basically a lesser human that is going to get stomped out of existence, and women aren't going to fuck you, they're not going to get pregnant by you, and they're going to ignore you. And when it comes to women, guys are not going to want to be with you. They're going to want to go and be with women who look beautiful, because that's what happens when you heal your grief that exists underneath your anger. We don't have any options anymore. The clock ran out. You have Trump at 2 terms and people don't think it's bad. You have people who think the earth is flat. You have people who think that the galaxies don't exist because they can't, because they're not able to reconcile the teachings of the Bible with the fact that aliens exist. They can't believe in them, which is basically like the stupidest shit on the motherfucking planet. And if you don't have the ability to intellectually move through something with honesty, then you don't have the ability to find truth, which is what the fuck the Bible is about. So the problem with this is that people will hear this kind of thing and they'll, well, this just is what you believe. And it's like, no, bitch, it's not. It's what the fuck you find when you don't have a bias invested outcome to what you want to fucking think, or what you want to be true, which is what monkeys do. The monkeys on the planet here, they want something to be true. And so they'll believe it, or they'll find philosophies that work for them, which is what I found consistently when it comes to the different religious practices, different religious movements, etc. When you have people who do things like ritualistic child abuse, they believe that they're getting something from the ritual. They believe that they're garnering power of some kind, or that they're going to do some fucking thing out. Who knows? It doesn't matter. It's all stupid. And we actually need to stop calling it ritualistic abuse, because it actually is too vulgar and too dumb. What it is a bunch of fucking barbaric monkeys with no IQs getting together and mutilating. That's what it is. And then eating shit. It's the dumbest fucking thing on the planet. There's nothing fucking stupider other than the things that I heard about in Papua New Guinea, where they were burning fucking witches because they think they have witches. The problem with this is that they probably fucking don't. because the spiritual teachings in these places are probably devoid, meaning that they're so powerless to themselves and they're so superstitious and they're so afraid that they actually need to kill people and burn them, which is the dumbest thing that you could actually do to somebody or to yourself, because the backlash on that is so bad for your vibration that you're basically doing one of the worst things you can possibly do on this plane of existence, which is kill another human being. People don't want certain things to be true. They want their little suck my dick foo-foo. They want to be right. They want their own philosophy to be right. They want to be what they are. They want their own social status to be true and better than other people. They want to be able to judge other people. They want to be able to be right in the ways that they want to be right. And if they don't have the self-honesty to look at themselves, I will not be able to get close to you, ever. Because I'm going to notice something. Because if there's a conflict that comes up, you're going to be like, it's this way. And I'm like, no, man, that's not true. You're angry and you're unjustified in your anger. You're actually being a dick and you're actually doing something out of your own vanity and narcissism. And you're going to put other people at risk, and you might even put other people's lives in danger as well as your own. And that's why you need to face the grief underneath what you're doing. I'm not grieving. Yes, you are. You're just not conscious of it. Well, no, I'm not. I'm not going to get into a debate with you. I have nothing left to say. See you around. And that's basically how it goes. And that's how it goes with most people, except we self-select. We don't ever actually think about these things. We notice and feel the vibe around other people, and it either repels us or attracts us. We have deep ties to the past with our own sense of intuition, and this is where we don't really need to get wrapped up too much in psychology or biology or physics or whatever the fuck to learn about ourselves and the nature of reality. I'm reluctant to say God simply because that's not really how I want to characterize things right now. It's too religious. We don't need a religious understanding necessarily. We just need to be able to face ourselves. When you're mean to someone, you acknowledge the fact that you've been mean. Well, no, they did this to me. It's like, okay, well, how did that make you feel? I was really angry. Well, were you angry or were you hurt? Well, yeah, I was really hurt. So it's like, well, what kind of hurt were you? Well, I felt really, really, and then you can go into it. And what you're going to notice is there's layers to this, tons of them. And you're going to work yourself out. And you're like, oh my God, like, I've been such a jerk. And then you're going to feel all the pain of the shit that you've done to other people. And it's going to be liberating, because then you're not going to be smoking fucking whatever the fuck, or then you're not going to be drinking so much. And then you're going to actually see how beautiful you look inside, and people are going to see your beauty emanating from your face, because you're going to realize, like, wow, like, I've been hiding so much, I've been doing so much, I've been mischaracterizing things to other people, I've been status climbing, I've been trying to be, better than other people. I don't want to look at myself. I'm using the teachings of the Bible to hide. Like, I just want people to think XYZ about me. I've been lying, like, I've been manipulating. And then you have to face all the grief around that, because what the anger triggers is when we don't get our manipulation, when we don't get what we want in a relationship, we manipulate. Then we manipulate to get a need what we think we need, but really we need to give it ourselves. And that's very hard to do. And that's where Kundalini comes in. You don't need to do that yourself. It's very hard to do that. You might not be able to figure that out. And when people figure shit like that out, they actually harm themselves. What I noticed is that people will actually fake it. They pull in all their energy. It makes them look beautiful. It makes them look like they hold their energy very beautifully. However, the problem with this is they don't work themselves out. They hide it. And now we're dealing with a monkey that is lying to itself, lying to other people, and it's lying to fucking through life. You don't know who you are. You don't know where you are. You don't know when you are. You don't know what the fuck is going on here on the planet. So why are you doing all that? Oh, well, the Bible, and you don't know if that shit's true. Quite frankly. Right? You don't know. You believe some stuff from thousands of years ago that's 4 gospels out of 60. You don't know what the fuck it was about. It's like trying to build a car with a hubcap and a tire, saying you know what it is. You have no idea what the fuck you're doing. And that's why the teachings of Christ have failed. No. The people who wrote them and the people who delivered them to humanity failed. And if you can't make that distinction in yourself because you're too afraid, you need to. You guys have been way too hard on yourselves. Way, way, way too hard on yourselves. You need to relax. Take the temperature down in the room with you guys. All this God-fearing bullshit. Here's the thing. There's a lot of psychological unwiring that needs to take place so that you're ready for someone like Jeb McKenna. People will come across it and it'll be too much for them. So they get depressed for 6 months to a year. You need to build your way up to it, right? Maybe not. I don't know. Like, build the psychology around yourself that allows you to have the strength to know that you can accomplish what you want to in life, that you have positive associations and values, that you want to treat people well, you want to be treated right, and we work on ourselves to do that. What I notice with RSD is that they have a very sophisticated way of communicating, and they also worked a lot of things out in human psychology that I found very helpful for people like me who were, let's say, abused by people in the schools that they went to, and also do their own merit. Okay? A lot of times kids are very unconscious, and they're going to treat other kids for certain reasons. Like, a lot of times people will get abused or feel like they're being abused because of the energy that they're emanating from themselves. And so then it becomes a game of like how to notice that. And so that's where becoming more self-aware is so helpful. And that's why we want to do that, because you're going to end up having better health, wealth, and relationships. Jed was amazing. After that, I suggest moving on to Scott Kiloby. He's got a book called The Living Inquiries that he did with that a woman, I think her name was Klopp something. You know, find the living inquiries, find the meditative, life as a meditation. There's that one. You don't need a lot of material. Okay, this isn't about becoming a spiritual addict. Find the pillars that I'm talking to you about, and then spread your wings and fly around wherever you want so you come back to the foundations. Okay? The teaching there is really, really powerful. It's going to show you that you make associations in your mind a certain way. It's going to help so that meditation becomes more natural, and you can notice that there are things for you to do in meditation. You're not just sitting there with your eyes closed, fucking doing nothing, right? You're falling asleep. Right now, it's probably going to be getting away from your dopamine or changing your dopamine levels. And I would suggest getting a flip phone. I would also suggest doing puzzles, real, actually live puzzles. Do like 1,000 puzzle pieces, puzzles. Those are going to help get your dopamine back, because it's so fucking boring. No music, just by itself, nothing. Just do a puzzle, do it alone. There are a lot of things that have become really hard for us. We need to make sure that that doesn't happen. We need to make sure that we are able to kind of pull ourselves back if we need to. I don't really know how dopamine is going to work with people getting into advanced meditation. You know, you don't have to do these things. Just like when I found that there was something that was too much for me to listen to, I turned it off. Like there was like spiritual book I was like reading. I was like, fuck, that's way too much. I took a break for 6 months. You know, I didn't want to listen to it anymore. We need to go easy on ourselves. We go through a lot. Then we take on this big fucking thing like, oh my God, don't take that on. You don't need to. Go about your life the way you feel like you should, and slowly incorporate some of these teachings and materials and find your way. My interest is making sure that we have the science down so that people like me don't end up dedicating 10 years of their fucking life to get fucking a very challenging time and destroy their fucking families and their financial situation because of it. I'm extremely fortunate to even be alive. Kundalini awakening will save your life in the deeper dimensions. You just get it in your body at a surface level, and you don't do the healing work by specifically releasing specific emotional triggers from your body, which means you're going to have to do continuous breathing breath work that's found in the Presence Process book. And you're also going to need to learn how to feel into your body, and then when you can sense into the bottom of the trigger where the grief is. Essentially what happens is we have emotional overwhelm. We are resisting unconsciously, meaning that your anger, for the most part, there are a few different types of angers that are not this way. I think it's just, well, there are a few, but for the most part, your anger is going to be trauma that exists deep in the body. I say trauma loosely. Is grief that is trapped in the body. It's energy we haven't been able to process. We don't like it. We are agitated by it. When you're processing this energy, it doesn't feel like anything. You're just going to feel a massive release in your body, and you're not going to be able to get angry about the thing you were getting angry about before. It's absolutely fucking incredible. and you can get really, really good at it really fast, especially with some of the things that I want to share over the course of this little video series here. When Kundalini gets into your body, it's going to change you. And it's going to shift when it feels like it needs to shift you. You don't get to control it. You can't. If you do, it will make you go insane. Maybe, maybe not. It will give you very, very bad digestive problems. You know, you're going to feel it instantly. So, oh my God, I don't want this. That's going to be the feeling, because you have to let go of things that your ego wants. I had to let go of a lot, like, to get to where I am. Like, you have no fucking idea. Like, you got to let go of a lot. Meaning that, you know, the thirst for Kundalini, whatever that is, the thirst for your spiritual journey is going to go away. It's going to take it from you. And if that sounds scary, it can be a little scary at times. That's okay, right? And that's what community's for. If you have a family, I suggest you get plugged into the community, in a spiritual community. You also find someone that isn't actually there to take money from you. You want to find a teacher of some kind, and that's the difficulty right now. And that's why I kind of want to offer myself up on a donation basis. And that's kind of how I feel like I'm going to work for a while, because, at least spiritually speaking, because, you know, you can't show up as a teacher with an open heart and want the best for people, and at the same time charge an hourly rate. I think it's really hard to do that. I think we need to change that in the culture. And that's going to be hard to do because people feel like they dedicated so much of their time to their healing, they have to get paid for it, because it's like, fuck, what else am I going to do? I'm like a PhD in this shit, and I can't get paid a nickel for fucking anything. And so we should find different systems and ways for people with specific types of specialties and gifts. We're going to find that it is like fucking Marvel. It's fucking incredible, right? And this is also a calling for me. It's like, I need to be able to, like, it's like, okay, let's say I have a girlfriend. It's like, fuck, this girl's so cute. Like, hey, I'm just a guy, okay? Like, and so that's why it's like, well, he's a teacher. He needs to hold himself to a higher standard, right? He can't be like being a certain way with women. And that's where I think a lot of teachers end up falling prey to being seduced or seducing beautiful women. And I'm just gonna be frank with you, right? It's like, you have to start putting your own self as if you are that person. Like, you're the famous person. How does it feel to be famous? Okay, blah, blah, blah. And then it's like, well, I don't know why people judge me for that. Like, I'm just a guy, you know? And it's a calling for us to be less sinister and more conscious. And Kundalini is gonna take you there. You don't have, like, right now, Kundalini guides all my psychology. I don't do anything with my own psychology. I'm not in control of my own development. Kundalini is. And I suggest, and, you know, and that's why a lot of Hinduism is structured around Kundalini. But, you know, the teachings have been hidden from humanity because of their power. And the West is more like, hey, let's bottle up and sell it. And I'm like, hey, I'm going to give it away for free, and we'll see what happens. And maybe we can make money anyways, because we want people to become more conscious. And let's face it, like, hey, I'm going to need to make some cash anyways. So donation basis, like, hey, minimum donation XYZ. You have to work out your psychology in a certain way, I feel, to where you're at least open to addressing your own self and your own behavior in a way that allows you to move forward in life, and in a way that is characteristic of nobility and a noble path, right? What they say, like the Four Noble Truths or whatever, the noble path, the Eightfold Path, or whatever it is. You know, we can draw on different religious teachings, practices, and spiritualism. You know, different cultures around the world will have discovered different things, tapped into different things. Doesn't mean we have to ignore that stuff. But what we need to do is take advantage of our approach in the West, which is where we create systems, we create rules, we create, in a sense, tradition, but we also create science. And that's what I'd like to see, is a scientific approach to the spiritual awakening of humanity, that we can just be like, hey, Africa, do this. And then in a matter of a couple years, Africa will be motherfucking insane. with growth and consciousness. It's kind of like what we're seeing right now is like the Cambrian explosion, where you saw, a change in life millions of years ago that changed the ecology of the planet to such a degree, and the flora and the fauna to such a degree we'd never seen anything like it before. I'd be curious to know more about that, but like, we're gonna see an explosion, okay? And that's what we want to see. We want to see very quick change right now. Right now, it's like what you'll get with people with Kundalini is like, you give away teachings like this, you're going to end up on the fringes. You're going to get people who probably die through mismanagement and stupidity. Then you're going to get people who live that become sacred saints of some kind. And then you're going to have a normal distribution with everything in between. And the average of it is probably going to be something like this. People are going to have a hard time with it, and it's probably going to take years. 5 to 10, 15, 20. But eventually we'll all get there. And what the ideal situation is, making sure that, that we're all taken care of. I think that one of the things that we should have in humanity is a basic, I'm not a big fan of universal basic income, but what I would like to see is food, water, shelter, at least in the United States. That if you're living in the United States, that's what you have. In order to have that, we need really strong boundaries. And with the way the world is going right now, Trump probably didn't do it right. Like, we need to build like the Great Wall of China on the north and the south borders. We need extremely strong borders, because what's happening now is not okay. We need wristbands for the unhoused. We need to know what's going on with our population. We need to be a country where we can invest millions of dollars into every single person to get them great health care, to get them excellent fucking education, to get them everything they need. And we're not there, not by a stretch, because people are being too greedy. It's not even just about greed, it's about how we structure and organize ourselves. The value that you have of something right now, my Kundalini enlightenment puts me at the very top echelon of performers in humanity. The top of the top. And people don't see that because they don't understand. And so I'm trying to illustrate what you need to do to accomplish these things that otherwise would take people lifetimes to figure out. And I managed to figure this out through my own research and being able to be 100% true and honest with myself, regardless of how much pain it took on. Which means that if I had my little fucking foo-foo and I wasn't ready to let it go, I put it in a box on the shelf. I know that I'm vulnerable here. This is something that's fucked up, and I'm just gonna put an X on it. I know I need to get to it when I'm ready. It's too psychologically destabilizing for me. And that's how I felt with the bisexual issue. It's too much for me, I'm not ready for it. And so Kundalini, what it's done is push me into that area sexually, and now it's helping me move out. Because what I've noticed at the deepest levels of Kundalini is that it actually has to do with certain elements that are not necessarily about men. And it's mostly about emotion, and it's mostly about being abused by the masculine and wanting affection from it. And that doesn't necessarily mean you're going to end up leaving your partner because you have a deep Kundalini awakening. It's not like that. I don't know what the truth is in that respect, but I can, and this is where this is the thing. It's like, oh, that's just you, that's just your belief. No. You cut that shit out immediately. And you need to know when there's wisdom that's higher than you, and you need to respect it. You need to fucking listen to it. You need to study more. And you get to have your little suck my dick bullshit where you scurry off and then talk shit and ruin it for other people. You need to wake the fuck up and stop being a stupid fucking piece of garbage, which is what most people are.